Hello, everyone. Welcome to Father Son Galaxy. I am Kerwin. This is Keith. Thank you all for joining us. If you're on YouTube, wonderful. Thank you. If you're watching us on Instagram, thank you so much. This is a special episode. You have been waiting for this moment, Keith.
For a month.
You've been talking about the Flash for weeks now. So this is your opportunity to talk about Flash and everything. Well, we
Yes.
can't cover everything about the Flash, but some key moments in regards to Flashpoint. We're going to do some comparison between the television series and the film that came out this past summer. Um, this is going to be interesting. All
Yeah,
right.
I'd like to say spoilers for season 3. We're
Spoilers,
going to talk
yes.
about some stuff for season 2 and season 5. It's not really a spoiler, it's really minimal details, but heavy spoilers for season 3. We talk about like the whole thing.
Right. So we hope that you are fans of the Flash or a DC fan. You know, we're not doing Star Wars or
Arrowverse.
Marvel. In this episode, we're going to talk about the Arrowverse, the Flash. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, time travel. Time travel is something that has been around for a very, very long time.
It's
Right.
quite complicated.
Yes, it has been. It's gotten complicated over the years. The earliest uh, book or version of time travel was back in 1895. It was a book that was called The Time Machine, written by H.G.
Do
Wells.
you mean H.R. Wells?
No, well, see, that's probably where he got his initials from. H.R.H.G. H.G. Wells wrote a book called The Time Machine, and it is about this scientist who time travels. He goes from anywhere in time, from the past to the future to the present. So that was 1895. So more than 100 years later, creators, especially science fiction creators, comic book writers, screenwriters, time travel is still a big thing. It is still a fascination, you know. And whether you call it time travel or the timeline or turning back time, it's all science fiction. You know, we're fascinated. We as viewers, writers are fascinated to create these storylines. So let's get into it and talk about timelines and time travel. All right.
Perfect.
Okay. We're going to start with The Flash season 3. Okay. We're going to talk about Flashpoint. So, Keith, tell us, what is Flashpoint? Why did it happen? Let's start there. What is Flashpoint and why did it happen?
All right, so Flashpoint. I'll tell you why it happened, and then explain what it is. So Flashpoint, it all began when, I guess I'll give you the general description. So Barry's upset about the loss of his mother, and he really wants to set the timeline straight in his eyes. So he runs back in time and stops his mom from dying, which then sets up a whole other paradox, meaning that now his parents are alive, but everything in the timeline has changed. And for the CW, we got new characters like Kid Flash, and he's walking around, and Iris and Wally are a duo, and Cisco is a billionaire, and Caitlin's a optometrist or something.
Yes, yeah,
She's a pediatrician, I think.
yes. So she's a child ophthalmologist, I think it was, right? I have that somewhere in my
Which is
notes.
funny.
Yeah, ophthalmologist. Yeah,
Yeah.
eye doctor for the kids. Yes. Yeah.
So Barry realizes that everything's going wrong, so he's got to let the Reverse Flash out to go kill his mom, which is really sad. But he goes back, but there's lingering changes from Flashpoint, and a whole bunch of stuff's going on.
Okay. All right. So Flashpoint took place because, for, I wouldn't say selfish reasons, but you know, Barry lost his mother. Okay. And her life was taken away by this character named Reverse Flash. All right, a bad guy, a villain,
Oh, I mean
obviously.
the CW.
Well, yeah, we're still talking about the CW. We haven't gotten to the film yet. So
For Ezra Miller's version, we don't really know. It's just said that it was a robber.
okay, well, we'll get to the film. Um, okay,
Jekylls.
right, and then his father is also taken away from him by another villain named Zoom, right? So these are two separate occasions.
Speed.
Yeah, two separate occasions. He lost both of his parents.
Yeah, that's what he sounds like, by the
So
way.
what he wanted to do was to go back to the time when he saved them both, and that's Flashpoint. So And I like the way that Barry described it. Like he drew a straight line and said, well, this is the timeline. And this is the point on the timeline. And what he did was he went back from this point back to another point previously. And then what happens when he created Flashpoint? Well, Flashpoint, when he went back in time, it created an alternate timeline, right? So he drew this one line, and then underneath it, there's a second line which represents the alternate timeline. That's Flashpoint. Okay. Now he realized that things were starting to get out of whack. Things weren't right. Something didn't feel right. So what he attempted to do, well, with the help of the Reverse Flash, attempted to reset the timeline and put it back to the way it was. And what that means is he had to go back and tell this killer who, in the previous timeline, took his mother's life away and say to him, I need you to do it again to reset the timeline. That is hurtful. It is. But that's what happened. But then when Barry thought he reset the timeline, things still changed.
He didn't.
Yes, it didn't.
So
things were not the same, no longer the same.
You know what? I'll make my own example, I guess.
Well, is anybody gonna see it?
Alright, guys.
Alright.
So it's a straight line. You can't even see this.
Yeah,
it's a straight line.
Yeah. Well, I just said that.
Ba 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 ba. Ba.
Yeah.
Ba, 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 ba.
Okay. Okay. Keep. Okay. Well, as you. Yes.
Yeah, I just drew I did the same thing Dad said, except I drew scribbles because the timeline changed.
Okay.
I don't know what I'm doing.
No, that's
It'd be much better if I had a whiteboard.
No, that's fine. All right. So so the timeline has changed. All right, and so it's even trying to reset it. It created new villains, new heroes,
like the Rival.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And then let's talk about Wally West. All right. Wally West is right. Wallace West is Kid Flash. In the comic books, Wally was actually the nephew of Iris West, right? In the comic books back in the 50s. But here in the TV series, he and Iris are both siblings. Okay.
Half.
All right. Half. Okay. Well, that's fine.
Yeah, because I think Wally was born to somebody else.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
That's fine. Iris's mother gave birth to Wally, so.
Okay, I get it. All right. So two different dads.
But Joe's not the dad, so.
I got it. Right. Okay. So now, so in the original timeline, Wally did not have any superpowers, right?
He was a car racer going by the name Taillights.
Right. But then when...
Oh, you knew that?
No, I didn't. No. So when Barry created the Flashpoint, he did become Kid Flash. But then when Barry reset the timeline, he lost all of his powers. Right. Now, how does this drive Wally going forward? Because he was very upset that he could no longer be Kid Flash, or he didn't have the speed as the Flash. So tell me what his fate was. What happened to him throughout season 3?
All right, so Wally was really upset that he wasn't a speedster. So there's this major fight with Alchemy. And Wally ends up touching the Philosopher's Stone. And he gets powers. But he also gets trapped in a cocoon. And when he gets the powers, he can't control himself. So Barry's got to sneak up on him and hit him with a needle that brings him back.
Okay. All right. And then, we're talking about spoilers. So what happens to Wally at the end of season 3?
Okay, well, he gets trapped in the Speed Force. But Barry goes to rescue him. And Jay Garrick ends up staying in the Speed Force prison. But they end up going to break him out. And the Speed Force prison is unstable. So Barry has to go take his place at the end of the season. And he's trapped there until season 4. And they immediately bring him back because it's the Flash show.
Okay. All right. So he makes it out of season 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
But Wally, after season 4's first episode, he stays for until the 3rd episode, and then he decides to just dip, and he goes to the Legends for 9 episodes in season 3, and then he also dips. So he's really not staying anywhere. And then at that point, they just bring him in for cameos every few seasons on the Flash. Like he was in the first episode of season 5 because he wanted to celebrate his his sister's birth. Yeah. So Joe married the DA, Cecile Horton, and they have a
Oh,
kid named Jenna West. And
really? Okay.
he visited for the celebration for that. It
Nice.
was really fun, and it was a whole lot of fun stuff. And there was this weird part where Joe told everybody, and then they pulled out cigars and started dancing.
Okay. All right. That's
I
fine.
don't get it, but
That's at the
I
wedding.
thought it was hilarious. It wasn't at the wedding; it was at Star Labs.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
It
All
was
right, well,
random, but I enjoyed it
right.
anyway.
And is this still season 3, or have we
This
gone
is
past?
season 5.
Oh,
So he
okay.
shows up there and then leaves again. He shows up in season 6 to tell Barry the Speed Force died. And yeah.
Okay. All right.
By the way,
Yeah.
I'd just like to take a moment to spoil season 7 for you
Okay.
because the first few episodes are
Give us a hint.
so in the first episode
Is it confusing?
they so here's the point.
Okay.
Since the Speed Force died, Barry needs a way to get his speed. So they
Hmm.
create an artificial Speed Force. But to power the artificial Speed Force, they have to kill off every Wells in the multiverse to do it. And you know what they do in the very next episode? They destroy the artificial Speed Force.
Okay.
I threw my phone on the ground and uninstalled Netflix after that.
All right. Well, tell me why. Was that not the right thing to do,
It was
or
incredibly stupid. We
okay?
sacrificed an entire group of characters.
Yeah.
So, for one episode, Barry can unlock a new power. And the reason he destroyed it is because he's entirely emotionless, which is funny because Iris comes out the mirror and she's not doing so great. So he lets his emotions win and throws a lightning bolt at the artificial Speed Force. So he was capable of showing emotion. I don't know why they destroyed it. I don't know why they bothered making it in the first place.
Okay. All right. Can we talk about?
But on a
Okay.
good note,
Okay.
at the very least, the infinite amount of Wells that died created one Wells.
Okay.
That's just
I don't follow that, but
that's amazing. They took 0.1% of all the Wells' essence and they resurrected Timeless Wells. And he's the original Harrison Wells because they ran out of versions because they killed them all.
okay.
It's confusing and there's too many of
Yeah, it
these
sounds very
people.
confusing.
I need to make a list of how many wells there are
Okay.
so I can keep this straight because there's like a graybeard and there's the 3 Wellses that we had on the show and then like main characters. And the whole point is that there's always a Wells on the team and they swapped them around every few seasons. Like Harry is the only Wells who got to return. He was in seasons 2 and 4, but I'm getting migraines because
Okay.
of how incredibly stupid and contrived that plot line is.
Okay.
I'm just it's upsetting.
Mm. Don't know why you brought up season 7 if it was that upsetting to you, but thank you anyway. All right, let's
I don't
talk
know
about Killer
either.
Frost. Can you tell us who Killer Frost is? This is
Yes.
also another character from the comic books.
So Killer Frost is multiple people, but in this run, she's Caitlin Snow. And Caitlin, she worked for Star Lab. She was a scientist, but thanks to Flashpoint, she gets powers which she hides from everybody. And their powers come out because Barry gets trapped in a mirror, and she freezes the mirror to break him out. But Harry, he's too smart. He knows that they didn't break that mirror themselves, so she has to tell the whole team.
Yes, right. Okay. And I think she was going to it wasn't the alchemy. She was going to the I guess the person above the alchemy to try to see if he could remove her power.
Savitar.
Savitar, right? Trying to see if he could remove her power because she didn't want these powers. First, she went to her mother, right? Her mother is a doctor.
Yeah.
Okay, and she thought maybe her mother could help her, but the mother, couldn't, and so she went to this Savitar. Um, that didn't work out either. Now, do we know?
Yeah, by the way, she goes back to Savitar and becomes his minion for the rest of the show.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because Caitlin gets stabbed and she dies, and Killer Frost takes her.
Interesting. Okay.
Awesome, right?
Okay. All right. Well, that's science fiction. All
Not
right.
that they revive Caitlin somehow. I don't know. But she comes back
Okay.
for the rest of the show.
All right. Okay. So that we got the gist of Flashpoint, why it was created, what was done, the consequences. Anytime someone goes back, either to the back to the past, or go to the future, there's going to be a change somewhere, right? And you may not know the outcome, but you're impacting lives, wherever you go. And this is something that concerns me about Loki, right? I wanted to tie this into Loki because Loki, again, we're talking about time travel. Now, he's a god, which we know. He doesn't even need a machine or a portal to get him, you know, anywhere he wants to go on a timeline, right? He can actually do that himself, right? So as we know,
he's too overpowered.
He is overpowering. But what that means that at some point he's going to mess something up and lives are going to be impacted and we don't know what's going to happen next. I know we're recording this live stream, the day before the season finale. So we don't know what's going to happen, but anytime, you have somebody who has that power to go back anywhere in time and change things, the outcome, there's going to be consequences, right? So we'll find out what those consequences are. All right. So again, time travel, timelines, multiverses. This, we have a fascination right now of, we as the audience and the writers have a fascination about telling stories of people going back and forth into time. All right. So when we heard that there was going to be a Flash movie and heard the premise of the movie, it sounded very similar to what took place years ago in the TV series.
Well, the funny thing is, I didn't even know the TV series existed.
Right.
So after I saw the Flash movie, I went back and I watched the TV show, and I just had this thought at the dinner table, and I'm just like, carbon copy.
Yeah, yeah.
Somebody didn't cover their tracks.
Yeah, so let's unpack this. And now let's move on to the Flash movie.
Somebody working for the Flash says CW content's low brow. They made the same thing.
Okay.
Flash, honestly, I'm not throwing any shade. That's also an episode of the Flash in season 3. But the thing is, Flashpoint is a very limited story. Like, there's a few storylines from the comics that are being remade. There's already been like 3 or 4 Flashpoint projects. There was an animated movie for the DCAU, and then there was CW. Now there's Flash, and then the comics. So they're really making Flashpoint a lot. There's not many takes on it. Not many. What's the word?
Versions?
There's not many, like, I feel like I'm losing my intelligence here.
No, it's all right. Okay.
That was a Harry Wells joke.
Okay. All right.
What? There's not many.
Okay, can we go ahead? No, that's fine. Let's talk about the film. All right. So what I want to try to get
original. Yeah, there's not many original takes on Flashpoint.
I want to try to get to the heart of why this movie was made. I'm not saying
we don't know.
Yeah, well, I'm not trying to put the movie down, but it wasn't an original story, which, okay, that's great. You don't have to have an original story to tell a great story. It could still, be very surprising and worth watching.
Usually you'll put your own twists on it.
Right. But I wonder if they decide to do their own Flashpoint, they didn't call it Flashpoint, but their
but it
version of
was.
Flashpoint in the film because they figured maybe many people didn't watch the CW series, all right? And it's possible, because I don't have any numbers as to how
Well,
many.
if they didn't watch the CW show, then why would they go see the movie? I mean,
If they didn't watch the CW show, why? Well,
well,
okay,
my point is the
no,
CW show is free to watch on Netflix.
right.
I mean, you got to pay for a subscription, but honestly, with Netflix, it's amazing. You get all sorts of original shows, but for a movie, you would have had to pay in theaters, or you would have had to pay for a streaming service like Max.
Well,
And Netflix is cheaper than Max.
there's a big difference between seeing a movie on the big screen and seeing it on television.
Yeah, I can
And part
understand
of
that.
that is the budget, right? So you figure, okay, if this is going to be a big budget movie, it's going to have the best special effects, sound effects, and everything else. Comparing that to the small screen, it's there's no comparison. So you may have people who have actually saw the Flash series and then said, okay, well, how is this going to look on the big screen? And they went. And I don't know if they were aware that they were actually seeing the same storyline as they did in the TV series. So even though the
Oh,
Flashpoint is the same storyline, there are
sorry.
some
Sorry, my
differences. All
bad.
right. So let's start with the
By the way,
similarities. So
I'd
what
like
is
to say
similar?
something about the differences.
Okay, let's start with the
So,
differences then. Okay.
Flashpoint, Barry Allen learns his consequences in the CW show, and he knows not to mess with the timeline. And that's a value he carries for a lot of the season and some of the show. But in the Flash movie, after Barry, after Ezra Miller's Barry has already understood the consequences of time traveling and put the tomatoes back in the cart, he jokes around with the timeline even more by changing the camera so that it's pointing at his dad when he goes up to get the tomatoes. So he's still joking around with the timeline. He didn't learn his lesson,
Got it.
and
Okay.
he goes back and he's surprised by these changes and his tooth falls out and he looks like a clown. I don't know why his tooth fell out. That wasn't funny.
Right. Okay. So correct me if I'm wrong, but the Ezra Miller film, I don't think Barry ever went back to reset the timeline, right? Did he reset well,
Yeah,
no,
well, he
that's
went
not
back to
true.
put the tomatoes in his mom's cart.
Okay.
I mean, it's like
So
everything
he
everywhere
did
all at once. It all starts with a piece of food.
right. So he did have to go back and reset the timeline. Okay.
You know what? It's also like across the Spider Verse. It all starts with a piece of food.
I got it.
Remember
Okay.
the spot? They threw a bagel at the man and he became a menace who's destroying universes. Like, that's crazy. You can never throw a pastry at a man and expect him not to destroy your world.
Okay. All right. All right. So then what other differences do we have? What else did you recognize
All
from the
right.
film
So I'll talk
that was
about
different than
I'll talk about the CW. I'll talk about the Flash movie differences first because I was
yes.
just talking about that.
Yes.
Well, so Barry runs back because he knows he's fast enough rather than because some major loss happened. And Dark Flash is an older version of Barry 2 from the future rather than being a time clone like Savitar is. Flash meets a past version that's a main character, whereas in Flash Season 3, Flash meets a future version that's only there for one episode. So Flash meets both Supergirl and Batman thanks to Flashpoint, whereas in the Flash show, he meets Supergirl in season 2, which has no implications on Flashpoint. And Barry 2 runs back to save Supergirl and Batman, not XS. So there's a speedster named Nora West Allen, who's Barry and Iris's daughter for the future. Um, she runs back in time. There's this villain named Cicada. You know, the as Killer Frost labels him, Cricket Freak. He captures a bunch of members of Team Flash, and every time they die. So she runs back 52 times and finally changes it so nobody has to die. Which Barry 2 from Flash movie did not get that many tries, and I'm honestly amazed. I would have thought after like the 10th try, you would have assumed it was a fixed point in time, but no. Nora's determination is amazing. So,
Right. No, so going back to the Flash movie, that was when was it the present Barry who kept going kept
Well, it was
rewinding
past Barry.
past Barry.
Present Barry kept trying to stop past Barry.
Okay, right. And then he wouldn't listen. He kept going back to try to change the outcome, and then the outcome would be the same. And then he'd go back again, and then the outcome is the same. It's like a cycle, a circle, right? Okay.
But I mean, I don't know. And the Flashpoint changes seem to make people completely different, like how George Clooney is now Bruce Wayne instead of Ben Affleck, which is sad, honestly. They did him dirty. Let's go to Flash Season 3. So Barry runs back because he witnessed his father die at the hands of Zoom, and he was really broken up about it.
Yeah.
And Savitar is a time clone, not future Barry. Flash meets his future self, but it's briefly and it's not a major plot point. Like I said, he meets Supergirl in Season 2, and that has nothing to do with Flashpoint. And you already know about Nora. And the Flashpoint changes, actually, they don't really seem to change any people's faces. They can change relationships, they can give people powers, or they can kill people. Poor Dante. Rest in peace. Also, he's the surgeon from The Good Doctor, so Barry messed with the timeline again.
Dante, remind me who Dante is.
Cisco's brother.
Cisco's
like
brother,
Barry
right?
be messing
Exactly,
with the timeline
right.
constantly. I mean,
Right.
Ray Palmer ended up on The Rookie, and Martin Stein ended up on Legally Blonde, and now Dante is on The Good Doctor. Like, it's getting crazy out here.
Interesting. Yeah, we did forget to mention that. Yeah.
So the joke is that a bunch of these actors, like Brandon Ruth and Victor Garber, they all ended up on different shows.
That's true.
That
That's
are
true.
being memed online.
Now,
and people are like, Barry, mess with the timeline. He also made himself a singer in Glee.
Barry
and
did.
So did Supergirl.
Grant Gus. Oh, didn't they do a musical?
Yeah,
did they do a musical
Grant
episode?
and Melissa, they did a musical episode.
I see.
Of The Flash.
All right.
It was perfect.
Really? Okay. All right. I'll have to check that out. But it was
ridiculous because
perfect but ridiculous.
The funny part is the reason they're there is because a villain knocked them both out and sent them to this land. But the whole point was for them to learn about friendship or something. But the way they get pulled out is because they get pumed. So I'm not sure that was a good way to teach someone a lesson. But all
right. Well,
it doesn't matter.
Getting back to Cisco, you're right. He had a brother named Dante, who, when Barry reset the timeline, his brother was involved in an accident and passed away. Yeah. So, right. Again, consequences. Right. When you change time. Okay. Wanted to move on to coming back. Again, asking the question, why did the writers of The Flash wanted to create their own Flashpoint when it was already done in the television series Flash? Did they think they could have done a better job? Or did they think no one realized that it was already done in the TV series?
I don't think it was that. I think it was just they needed a story, and the Flash's iconic story is Flashpoint, so that's what they went with. Because honestly, when you think of the Flash, that's what comes to mind.
I see.
And here's what's funny: there's no Reverse Flash in this movie.
That's true, right? Right. We had Zod, who was the main.
Even
villain.
Michael Shannon wasn't sure why they made him the villain. Like, that speaks volumes about your movie if the villain doesn't know why he's there.
By the way, so you mentioned Brandon Routh.
Superman Returns, 2006.
Yes, that's very good. Right, exactly.
They brought him back for Crisis.
Right. I was surprised to see him. I think it was episode 8, where they brought back some heroes from, I think,
Legends?
Yes, Legends. Arrow was there.
Was it Invasion?
Yes, right. That's when the aliens landed on Earth, and
so they brought in Arrow,
right?
And they brought in Supergirl and
Canary,
Sarah Lance
or something.
Yeah, White Canary. There's
Canary.
Too many canaries. There was so many canaries that they were going to do a spin-off show called Arrow and the Canaries.
Is
There's
that a
like
true
Black
story?
Canary 1
Is that a
and
true
Black
story?
Canary 2
Okay.
and Black Canary from Earth 2 and then Siren from Earth X. And then there was White Canary, who's Sarah Lance, who died but got resurrected in the Lazarus Pit. Character arcs of the Arrowverse are all over the place, and I love it.
All right. Okay.
But I really got to catch up to Arrow and Supergirl and Black Lightning and Batwoman. I'm like on the 7th episode of Legends because it's so easy to get into, and I love it so much already.
How many
Yeah,
seasons of Legends?
7,
7 seasons. All right.
I think. Well,
Okay.
it started in like 2017 and ended in 2022, so like 5 or 6.
A year into it, first season, 7 episodes. You said.
Yep.
Okay, and you're liking it so
And there's
far.
like 8 seasons of Arrow, about 6 seasons of Supergirl, I think.
There's a lot. If you add
And
them all
then
up, boy.
Batwoman's
Whew.
got like 2 seasons.
Right, 2 seasons. There's Black Lightning. I think they have
Yeah,
four,
Blackline has 4?
4 or 5.
Awesome.
Yeah, I still
And
have to finish half of
Flash
the
has
last
9
season.
seasons,
Yeah,
which gradually decrease in episode count.
got it. Okay.
Like it all started with season 5 had 22, and then season 6 has 19 and 19, and then the last season is 13.
Okay. Now, okay, to wrap up
I am
then.
regurgitating words.
No. Is there anything else you want to talk about in regards to Flashpoint?
I just like to say I think Flash really did it much better. I think the
The
storyline,
series?
the series,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Okay.
I think the storyline was a little less convoluted. They kept it short and succinct.
Mhm.
But what I also liked is that the main villain, he had a very high tech suit, and I had no issue believing that he's the god of speed. I mean, he looks like a god. He's built like a god, and the thin crust pizza face underneath that suit is hilarious.
Okay.
Did you get that?
No.
Yeah, so the thin crust pizza face underneath that suit is Barry.
What episode is this? Is this season 3?
Yeah, it's like the penultimate episode where we
Okay, I
find
didn't
that
get
out.
there yet. Yeah,
But
okay.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. You know, Savitar is a time clone of Barry. And the funny thing is, his reason for being evil is that everyone shunned him for not being the real Barry. But I found that hard to believe because season 2, Barry went back in time and brought a time clone into the present to help him fight Zoom, and the time clone died in the process. You know what Team Flash did? They were very sad about that because they're like, he gave his life for us, and one of them was like, I guess that just shows how much Barry cares about us. So I'm utterly surprised that their reaction to Savitar was get out of here.
Okay. All right. Is you like Flash? You like the Flash?
The first 5 seasons.
Well, no, I'm not talking about the TV show.
I
I'm
like
talking
the
about the
Flash as a
character.
character. I like the
Yes, right.
first
Tell me
five
about.
seasons of the CW.
Okay.
Season 6 was all right.
Well, tell me about the character. Like, what is it about the character that interests you so much?
Well, honestly, I think it was the performance given by Grant Gustin in
Okay.
the show,
Okay.
and the character arcs, the storylines, the supporting characters like Cisco and Harry
Okay.
and HR and Caitlin and stuff, and
Right.
Iris and Joe
Okay.
and Ralph Dibny. Everybody, just give a round of applause for Ralph Dibny. Honestly,
I have no idea who he is, but okay.
elongated man.
Okay, I haven't gotten there yet.
He's
All right.
elongated.
I can't wait to see that part. But my question is about the character of the Flash. So is
Yeah,
it
that's what I'm saying. I like him because he's a speedster.
okay?
And
Yeah,
he's
you like his
funny,
powers,
and
right?
he's
Okay.
got a whole lot of powers. Like, if I had the
Yeah.
powers of the Flash, you know how many powers I would have? I'd be able to run back in time. I'd be super fast. I could make clones of myself. I could loop time. I could throw lightning. I could speed punch. I can think at the speed of light.
Yeah. All of that. Okay. And
But
then
he's got like a whole array of powers. The Flash could beat literally anyone. I think the Flash could even beat Thor.
and you know what I find about the Flash is he's very down to earth. You know, he seems to be, a very nice person. He likes helping people. He's very sympathetic of people, and I could just see, I'm talking about Grant Gustin. He portrays uh, he portrays Barry as someone who really cares about people. He knows creating Flashpoint was done for selfish reasons, but I guess if anybody else was in a position to save a loved one, they would make that opportunity to do so, and he did. But he didn't realize, the lives that were impacted, the people around him, how they were impacted by his decision or his mistake. All right, but he was very upset about it, and he felt very, to me, he felt very sincere of what he did, and he really, and it was a very tough thing to say to them, but I'm sorry of what I did, but this is your life now, and I can't do anything about it. I can't change it. So, and people had to come to that realization that whoever they were in the original timeline, they're not that same person anymore, and they will never be. You know. So, all right, this is good.
Oh,
So,
thanks, Dad.
okay. So, one more question. As far as your top 5 favorite superheroes, would the Flash fall in the top 5, or are you not
Yep.
sure? It would. Okay.
It's gotta
Do you
be
have a top 5 already?
Yeah, I'd say Spider-Man.
Going from 1 to
Favorite.
5, or
I'm going
5
for my favorite.
from number
I'm going
1?
for the number 1 to number 5.
Number 1 is
I think it's
Spider-Man.
got to be Spider-Man, Flash.
2, number 2. Okay.
Yeah, Iron Man. You know who else is a good hero? Batman.
Nice. Batman is number 4.
And I guess Superman.
Okay, that's a good top 5. All right, and it could change. It don't have to be the same, so that's fine.
I mean,
All right, that's a good group. All right. Okay. Anything else do we want to say?
Should probably shove Loki in there somewhere. Is he a
Okay.
hero?
Well, he could. Well, I think so.
Yeah.
Now he is.
So at that point, he's second, and then
Oh, so look. Okay, so Loki is second.
yeah.
Okay.
Then Flash.
Then Flash.
Then Iron Man. Then Batman.
So Batman is 5. Okay, that rounds out your top 5. Great answer.
I should probably shove Mobius in there.
Mobius is not a superhero. He doesn't have superpowers.
I know.
Yeah,
it's a joke.
But he's a great character. Absolutely a great character. All right, so we can't wait. So
Owen Wilson is awesome.
Yeah, he's come a long way. I mean, he's been in the business for a very long time. I mean, back in the 90s, I think. Wedding Crashers, and there was something about Mary. I think he was in those movies.
Zoolander.
Zoolander. Oh my goodness, ridiculous.
With Ben Stiller.
Ben Stiller. Yeah. All right.
What a bunch of besties.
Yes.
Doing silly things on camera.
Yeah. Very, very funny actors.
You know what would be funny? Is to just
funny,
make a movie where you let all the actors do whatever they want. Just have all the actors come together, write themselves a loose script, and improvise.
Well, I think that's possible.
And then also like Thor Ragnarok was a lot of improvisation.
Oh,
and you know the line where Thor's like, "He's a friend from work." You know where that came from?
A little girl, right?
Yeah, it was a Make-A-Wish kid who suggested that.
Wow, how about that?
And that's so sweet.
Yeah, very nice, and it's good that they credited her for that. Well, I guess they couldn't mention her name because she's a minor, but that's a great story.
I mean, if that were me, I'd be like, sign me up.
Yeah, awesome. All right, so
I know him. He's a friend from work.
The next time you'll see us will be on Sunday, right? We'll be breaking down the finale, season finale, I guess, of Loki, season 2.
It's too good.
You know what? I don't want to hype it up too much, but I
really
hype because I don't want to get let down. But
Dad, I'm on the hype machine right now.
I can't wait. So that's happening tomorrow. Right. And we'll be back on Sunday to review. Yep. We also have the Marvels coming up, right? We're going to watch the Marvels in theaters this weekend, and then we'll schedule a day and time where we can do a full spoiler review. And we'll also do an out-of-theater reaction with our buddy Jared. Our buddy Jared will be there. We'll do an out-of-theater reaction, yeah. And we'll be back to Star Wars. I know it's been a little bit, we took some time off of Star Wars, but we got some things cooking, right? So we'll continue to keep you posted on what's happening with Star Wars. So we will be back. All right. Keith, where can people find us? Until next time, take care, and we will see you again. They're not going to find us anywhere. You want to skip
It
it?
depends. Nah,
Okay.
honestly, it depends on where I am in the timeline. But if I'm here, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. Our socials are Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Fathers and Galaxy. Website fathersandgalaxy.com. Please donate to our Patreon page, patreon.com/fathersandgalaxy. We have a whole lot of nice merch. It's getting cold. We got mugs for your hot cocoa and sweaters to keep you warm from running all that long from the timeline. So buy that.
Sounds great. Okay, this has been
FatherSonGalaxy.myspreadshop.com.
yeah, this has been fun. We're talking about the Flash. It may not be the last time, but yeah. But thank you so much, Keith. Thank you for your knowledge
Yeah.
and
By the way, you know something?
yes.
The Flash movie was made in 2014. That's when the idea for a Flash movie was made in 2014.
And it got delayed.
They
many
hired
times.
multiple directors and
Yeah.
writers and fired them moments later. And then we later with Andy Muschietti. And then a whole lot of stuff happened with Ezra Miller. I won't get into that.
Yeah.
The interest died out, and then by then the CW Flash had already run for 9 years, and by 2023 it had just ended like a month or two before the Flash show came out.
Yeah, very interesting. And I've already done the Flashpoint. So, all right. Hey, these things happen. Okay. We'll see you on Sunday, okay, for the Loki season finale. So until next time.
Arrowverse is officially over because Superman and Lois ended on their 4th season.
Okay. Anything else? Until next time.
I'll list all the whales right now.
Take care.
And
we will see you again.